North Korean leader Kim Jong Un has slammed top officials for failures in handling the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Kim has spoken of a grave incident due to a lapse in anti-pandemic efforts during a meeting of his Politburo. He says officials neglected their duties and have caused a great crisis. Now, it's not clear exactly what incident he was referring to. The state media say that several senior officials have been replaced as a result. Pyongyang has closed its borders since early last year. It has insisted that there are no coronavirus cases in the country, but experts widely doubt the claim. Grant Newsham from the Japan Forum for Strategic Studies joins us live now for more insights on this. Mr. Newsham, is this a sign of the true picture, perhaps, of the pandemic's severity in North Korea?
Well, I think that's a reasonable supposition. It's not every day that Kim admits to problems in his country. Of course, he's blaming it on somebody else. But the fact that he does go out so publicly to announce this, and beyond the normal misery that's the lot of the average North Korean, this is significant, I should think.
And is the North perhaps even signaling a need for international aid, perhaps?
Oh, I think that's part of the equation. I think every time that the North Korean regime gets into trouble, that it does something like this. You know, it talks about how bad things are, and it doesn't quite say it's anybody's fault except for some poor devil. And then it's hoping that the international community, that other countries will then offer up aid and support. But really, anytime Kim wants the help, all he's got to do is say help. So this isn't, but it is a familiar game that we've seen played before.
Well, North Korea does have a keenly isolationist posture, that we know, but its only global ally, China, has signaled for months now that it is willing to offer help to deal with the pandemic if North Korea needed it. Do you expect North Korea to now accept China's offer of assistance?
Oh, I think they would. If it gets bad enough, they might actually say the words, "Can you help?" But otherwise, they're, I think, sending out feelers to China, expecting that there will be some help coming. Ironically, even South Korea, with the Moon Jae-in administration, if it had a chance, I think it would be delighted to provide assistance to North Korea. So the help is there, but Kim just has to ask. And one notes that he has the resources. He puts these into his military, developing missiles, nuclear weapons, and even submarines. So it's a familiar game. If you watch this for 30 years, this is really par for the course from the North Korean regime.
It can be hard to know what exactly is going on, behind its walls. But given the country's lack of medical supplies and poor healthcare system, how difficult would it be for them to tackle this pandemic?
Well, I think it'd be tough. It is particularly outside of Pyongyang. The medical services really are not very good at all. In fact, third world is probably the best description of it. So it would be difficult. We've seen how even much more advanced countries have really had to struggle to deal with the COVID epidemic. So North Korea would find it just as hard. And in some ways, this is much worse than the famines that North Korea periodically deals with, including the very severe one in the early 90s. Plus, you have a population which much of it is not particularly healthy because of a very poor diet, lack of food, etc., lack of medical care or decent medical care. So this is potentially a pretty big deal for North Korea to deal with, even if they open up and let outsiders in. As far as understanding what goes on in North Korea, it's often considered a black hole. But one does note that's what intelligence services are paid to know. There's a lot of defectors and escapees around the world and nearby who still have contact in North Korea. And Japan has a large Korean-Japanese community, which has connections and contacts with North Korea. So it shouldn't be all that difficult to figure out, given the resources.
Many thanks for sharing your perspectives with us. Grant Newsham from the Japan Forum for Strategic Studies.